Yeah, whatever. Yeah, camera misalignments aside, we're back to Linux. By the way, I just remembered who you look like. You know the bad guy from Fifth Element? That is exactly what you look like with your hair combed like that. It's like...
To see.
Anyway. These people are wondering what I'm waving at. You can't see them, but there's little natty things flying around. Like, it's like, let's see. Anything other than what's on the thing? I mean, you were talking about like the swipe key. I've already forgotten what it is. I didn't put it in this thing. There was something we got to talking about in PCV Mac that.
It's called the 8-pen keyboard.
Okay.
And basically, it's this keyboard where you just make, this with your finger to type. It's, would it show up on the camera if I just showed you?
Yeah, it would.
Alright, it's like this.
Yeah, and I have no idea what genius decided this was a good thing.
And to type, you have to circle around it, then go back to center. And to type a big letter, you have to circle around a certain number of times. And then that'll make a string. That's how you type.
Yeah, but like you were saying the other day, it's the rotary phone. I mean, it looks neat, but I don't know why you'd want that.
Yeah, the problem with it is that in that single swipe motion that you do to make an E or something, or a G, you could have done a whole word in the swipe keyboard.
Yeah, have you ever screwed around with this thing, Jordan? You know what we're talking about?
No, actually, I don't have any Android devices at the moment, sadly.
Okay, it's just
When my AT&T contract expires, or when I can afford to get out of it, because they love to put those extraordinarily outrageous early termination fees, I will be moving to a different service with an Android device, both of us.
Yeah, see, I'm like debated on doing that, to be quite honest. On the one hand, AT&T has proven that they don't want people to be on their network. It's like they've just basically decided, no, go to our competition, go anywhere else. We do not want you here. So I'm like, okay, son. But on the other hand,
they're a prime example of we want you really, really bad, as long as you don't use our service.
Well, what's the point?
Just give us your money and then
give us your money and then go sit down and don't do it. It's like, honestly, they're right up in trunk with my cable company here, which, when they just decide, oh, well, we're gonna push an update out that erases your cable box and all your recordings and everything, and I'm like, why am I paying you for the DVR then? It's just, I'm confused. And then they get all indignant on me. It's like, I can't wait to ditch them. I really can't. But it's like my thing with dropping AT&T though is I'm grandfathered in under a singular plan that includes a shitload of crap that nobody offers anymore. But I'm like, but do I really want to try and jerry-rig AT&T? It's just, that's, I don't know. Anyways, what were you gonna say?
Just nothing related. I was just gonna say, you guys heard about the situation with LimeWire recently?
Actually, I haven't really kept up with LimeWire or Kazaa or any of that stuff because I don't really use them.
Yeah, I heard about it, but not enough to really care.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much because I don't know anybody that uses it anymore. But the main point of it is that after it got shut down, when it got sued, like a few days later, some people just made an open source version of it. So it just goes to show they're shutting down this project. These companies trying to shut it down. Boom. Another project.
That was like right up there with back when Kazaa was like real big. Kazaa like went nuts because somebody made a version of Kazaa. I think it was like Kazaa Lite or something that was Kazaa without any of the tracking software or ads or any of that shit. Yeah. Then again, I don't really trust anything off of LimeWire because you're kind of asking to get a virus and who knows what else. It's
true. It's not about LimeWire. Although it's surprising how many people still used it. But
I always laugh whenever somebody says, "Oh, I use LimeWire." I'm like, why? It's like they don't know of anything else. I'm like, if you're gonna do that stupidity, at least use something better than LimeWire. I mean, come on.
It's funny how it's just, as soon as it gets shut down, and new things gets created almost instantly, which is, a lot like what happened when, to fight back, a lot these record companies try to fight all these projects when they're never going to win. It's like Netflix for the first time ever people started downloading movies more than peer-to-peer.
Yeah, everybody says I'm too young to be this cynical, but I really am a true pragmatist when it comes to this crap. I'm like, right or wrong, good or evil doesn't enter into this whole piracy thing. The reality is this is the choice a company has. They can spend millions, if not hundreds of millions, possibly upwards of billions of dollars trying to fight something that is going to happen anyways, or they can accept that the 21st century is here, we cannot rewind to the 1980s, and they should embrace technology and just accept that this is a efficient-ass distributing medium that, oh, by the way, is footing the bill on somebody else's bandwidth. Why don't you take advantage of that? It's like,
I'm not advocating for it, but it's just the companies are taking the wrong approach trying to fight it, which I agree with. But that really doesn't have much to do about Linux. It was interesting how these people created it again in like a few days.
Yeah, just a little tech in general. Anyways, where do we want to start with the yada and so forth? We want to start with some of these comments. We want to start with... I find this one funny. I didn't put any of these comments in here, but there was this whole thread in debate. I don't know if y'all watched any of the comments from the last two shows, but people were debating each other on whether or not Internet Explorer should be on anything but Windows. I was just... personally, I wouldn't use it, but I don't necessarily see anything wrong with there being a Linux version of IE. Any thoughts on that, y'all?
Well, I'm afraid that there might be a few people using it.
And how is that a bad thing? I mean,
Well, you introduce Grandma to Linux and you put her on IE. We were talking when I was doing the browser review, we found out that Epiphany had a huge security hole. Well, I know that, Microsoft's browser has a lot of security holes, so it's kind of better for people to kind of have to learn to use Firefox or something better than IE.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with that. If somebody wants to be an idiot, don't they kind of have the right to do it? And Jordan, you're being strangely silent on this topic.
I fight with IE on a daily basis.
Oh, I do too. I'm a web designer, for crying out loud. Web design and web development. I fight with IE all the damn time. It's the vein of my existence. At least versions older than IE 9, which is still 90% plus of IE. It's like, but
the idea of it coming natively to Linux, well, for one, it probably just will not happen. But two, if it did,
even if it did, it would never be a mainstream.
It makes my skin crawl a little bit.
It wouldn't be a problem. The best thing you could do is make testing slightly easier for people who develop web pages on Linux.
Well, and the other thing I see there is, for those retarded companies that go out and go, we have detected that you are not using IE6. Please use IE6 to visit this page. We all know the companies I'm talking about. It's like, you can either pretend to be something you're not, Or you can go, you know what, screw it. I'll do what you want, you stupid idiots, just to make them happy. I've always wondered if they're testing for Windows or they're testing for IE, because I never bothered to go back and take those pages apart.
Is it even, can you test for Windows?
Yeah, you can test for the OS.
JavaScript can test for a lot of things.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many things JavaScript can test for.
If you want to know, go to Google Analytics, put that on a website, and wow.
Yeah, well, honestly, for two reasons, I try and leave most of those version tests off of pages I make for a couple of reasons. A, Google can penalize you for using tests like that because they might accidentally think you're doing, the black hat style of SEO, where you have one version of the page for the search engine and then another version for browsers, and they might penalize you for that, or just stop crawling your page altogether. But the other reason is, inevitably, you're going to come across somebody who is on a Linux box or on Firefox, but is pretending to be IE and yada yada and vice versa. And I find it causes more problems than it fixes, rather than just taking the time to write a good, universally accessible page.
That's always the best option.
Yeah, it's
just make it work.
Yeah.
Don't specify you must be on X browser.
Exactly. Usually, the only time I use those tests and things when developing is where, for the type of site we're doing, it just makes sense to use some tags that are not fully supported by a browser like IE. And we put up a test to go, hey, warning, this page may not load optimally for you. Try any of these free browsers or upgrade to the IE9 beta. It's just to kind of make them aware of the problem. And if they want to ignore it, they can go on. But other than that, I try not to use those because of all that bullshit. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I know where you're coming from, James, but if somebody if somebody on a Mac or Linux wants to use IE, why, I have no idea. But if they want to, I'm not sure there's anything wrong with that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I would be curious, though, since it's IE, of course it would be a Microsoft product. Would it have the same sort of holes? Would it have vulnerabilities like the existing Windows version? Or, it would be curious to see how it would perform, if it would have those exploits available for it, things like that.
Well, and it would be interesting also because a certain amount of those exploits have to do with the fact that Windows will run every bit of code that it comes across.
Exactly.
And a multi-user system like Unix or Linux won't. So it would be hysterical if the majority of the security exploits in IE wind up being a direct result of Windows. That would actually be funny as hell. And I'd say the same thing.
How does IE under Mac do?
Is there an IE for Mac?
Not anymore, but they
used to be.
They said there used to be an IE for Linux. Nobody used it.
That was like IE4, right?
I think there was an IE5 beta version.
But I know that IE for Mac has been there since like version 7.
I haven't ever been inclined to go load IE when I was on a Mac.
Well, all that I'm saying is that does anyone know if it's more or less secure when it's on Mac? Because that would give us a pretty good base for on Linux, because
So, out of curiosity, what even brought the idea of IE for Linux up? Did I miss something last week?
It was in the comments for the thing we did this on. It's when we started talking about the other topic of attacking, of Linux being attacked, which is what we're going to go into next, I guess, and stuff. It was a debate that started in one of the comment threads. People were like, there should be an IE for Linux or not be, and then everybody's like, oh no, worst thing ever. And it became a little feud. I'm like, I'd never really thought about it, so I just thought I'd bring it up.
Okay. I was just curious. I didn't know if somebody was maybe even proposing it or what. A
couple of people proposed it in the comments, and a couple of people counter-proposed it that, oh dear God, no.